Greetings and welcome everyone to an all-you-can-geek bonus round for God of War, kind of the spoiler of the game. So the whole ending, the whole game. I'm one of your hosts, Jim Gast, joined by Mike Sneedy,
What's up?
Corey Feinsod,
Boy,
and Tony Korkanakis.
Translate this, do that, blah, blah, blah.
Someone's doing an artist impression there in the background.
Yes, yes. So this, again, we're going to do a bonus round finally for God of War. We've all played this game, which is rare for us to play a game, which is why we don't do too many bonus rounds of games, but we did it, so let's do this. Again, this will be talking spoilers, so if you care about the story or if you haven't played it, you may not want to listen yet, but we'll be going over the reasons why I like the game a lot and everybody else. For me, that was the purpose of this game, but just so you know, don't listen if you don't. We're going to start now, so that's our last warning. Okay, so the mother dies. I'm just trying to think of what's the biggest spoiler I can throw out.
I mean that's how the game starts. It's like
yeah. So
right.
Again, this is a game. I'm not a huge God of War fan from the previous games, but because of the hype this game got, Perfect Tens, I felt I had to play this game, and I'm not sure who else. I think Tony, you're like that as well, right?
yeah. I mean, I always like
all of us.
This shit.
We're all of us. Like
I
that?
never even played the previous God of War games. I've watched some of them and watched other people play, but I had no real interest in it. They look like boring hack and slash games, so that's why I was so late to get into this game.
Yeah.
I was like, God of War, I don't really care, and then everyone went crazy. I'm like, all right, I'll get it when I can in a little bit.
Yeah.
So I got it a couple months late and just finished it now.
Yeah. I mean, Corey, I think you were the highest in God of War for us. I think.
probably. I think I was the highest, on the series itself in general, before this game came out.
Not this game. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But,
So
I mean, I like the original God of War, and I mean,
3 was. I have 3, the remastered version and everything, and that game is a spectacle. It's absolutely a spectacle, and the Greek mythology is, always
it's cool.
something that I'm
that's
interested
cool
in.
Mythology, it really is. And this one we get the Norse gods,
Right.
And I thought this was cool because there's a lot of Loki and all those god stuff that we get. We know the Norse gods, Thor.
Everything that we know about the Norse legends, though, pretty much comes from Marvel.
A lot of it.
Well,
Yeah.
most
The main,
A lot of
I would say the majority of the public probably, just because of how popular Marvel Universe is and Thor, the movies and everything. But I mean, you know these characters outside of that too.
I only know of it as that they existed before the Marvel versions, but as far as actually getting into anything that ever happens or character relationships or interactions, I only know from Marvel.
See, for me, I mean that was a draw for the game slightly, but as soon as it got those perfect scores and stuff, that's when I got interested, and plus the feedback from people playing it. The only problem I have is with this game is, would anybody here before we get going give this a perfect score?
I'd be close.
No, but
no.
I hate how you use this term because
It's
in
not
my
a perfect
opinion,
score.
it's never,
10 out of 10 is
There's
not.
nothing. 10 out of right, exactly. 10 out of 10 is not a perfect score.
Okay.
If you're asking me, I don't think it's perfect. There's no perfect game. If you're asking me if I would give it a 10 out of 10, no, absolutely not.
Okay, so rephrase the question. I
can see how
understand
other
that
people
point.
do
I understand
it.
that point.
Would you give it the highest score possible?
I would not give it the highest score possible.
Right. That's the question you should be asking.
So would I give it a 9? Yes, absolutely. I think I would give it a 9.
Personally, I'm somewhere in between a 9 and a 9.5 at this point. Now I know I'm riding kind of high on it right now because I just beat it.
Yeah, you finished it last night, right?
And I still want to play more of it. So
for me, I mean, the game starts off interesting enough for me actually with the father-son dynamic, which is Sony's bread and butter. Two-person.
Definitely can shoot those out pretty well.
Yeah, Tony's got that whole theory going a long time ago.
The Sony formula.
Yes, you had that going before this game came out, so I'll give you credit.
Thank you.
But
Well, it's the father figure with the young kid.
yeah, and so I did like that dynamic, but for me, the story itself went away about midway through the game, and it was more about the gameplay and the encounters was the most important part for me, not the story. The goal of jumping the ashes on the top of the mountain for me became the third reason I'm playing this game. Yeah, maybe fourth.
I mean, so at first I would say the I could see. I was like, okay, well it's a personal quest. I could get behind that. But towards the end of the game, where it's like, oh well, what's her name? Like clearly is just setting stuff up to happen for a reason. This and the other thing. It's a thing. It's a pin in like a whole bigger grand scheme of things. I was just like, okay, like, like all right, sure, I'll go along with this, but
well,
it didn't do much for me.
To me, the story has not that much to do with the ashes, and more what to do with is Kratos ever going to tell the son the truth? Like that to me is the real climax when he does near the very end. That's what.
He does it like halfway through the game.
But isn't the story about the journey?
Completely.
Isn't that the whole point?
It's about their
no, but you know what I mean.
relationship.
But the saying isn't it about the journey? Isn't that the saying?
Is this that Miley Cyrus song you're talking about? The climb?
I just feel like I don't know. It never was the driving purpose of playing this game. I was never like I got to find out what happens next. It never did that for me.
To me, I think I wanted to see what they would say to each other more as things went on.
I think that the story was very serviceable, and it does drive you forward in the game. And for me, I went back absolutely for the gameplay, but I still wanted to finish the story to see how it played out and see what the conclusion of this journey was going to be.
And that was the other thing and one of my disappointments is like the ending sort of seemed abrupt to me, but part of it, what I wanted to see is, how exactly he got there and why, and like what the Norse bigwigs thought of him for real, or like knew about him or his relationships. I mean, really quite. I was expecting an encounter with like Thor or Odin by the end of this game, and that kind of I was disappointed that way because I wanted them to be. I wanted a little more of a conclusion about like why he's here and what it means that he's here and like how they view that he's here or what he's doing.
Yeah, you know what?
And we didn't get that.
I was surprised.
That was part of what was driving me a little bit.
I was surprised with when you go into the World Serpent towards the end. I felt like that was where we were going to run into Thor or something, and it just seemed very short. The World Serpent section. I don't know. I just felt like that was very.
I didn't need to be in there that long. I was fine with it.
Yeah, no, I just felt like they were prepping us that he was always at like war with Thor. They hate each other, and like
they were, and I mean, yeah, again, like I really thought we would have some sort of meaningful encounter with them by the end, but we didn't, and that's one of the things that disappointed me a little bit about the ending.
But I think that's one of the things that actually kind of hurt the game for me, in terms of like the amount of characters in this game. Like it's not that many. You have Kratos and Atreus, and you have the witch.
Freya.
What's her name? Freya.
Yep.
And you have Stranger,
Baldur,
not the elf dude, the dwarves.
Yep, and the two dwarves, and it's just
and
like
the two sons of Thor.
Yeah,
the two sons, and
were a little sparse.
Right, but it's not like you really like. They're not part of the
No, I didn't need
so
them.
Much.
Yeah, but again, like I wasn't driven by the story much myself, so it didn't really matter. But
I loved what's his name? Head.
Oh yeah.
What's his name? I forgot his name. Something with an
prophecy
M.
god.
Something with an.
Yeah, he was actually great.
Monarch or
Mimir.
Mimir.
You just played this game yesterday.
I know, but he's Head.
He said, it's like what's the kid's name? It's Boy. It's Boy.
Yeah. So I felt like his character was great for it, and then
I liked even going new places I've went before with him because he would like explain what the relevance of the place was. I'd be like, oh, that's cool.
Right.
Thanks.
You definitely got to learn a little bit about the Norse mythology.
Yeah, I mean that was cool learning about mythology. I think it was a cheap way to do it because it was like, oh well, I mean it doesn't really make sense to have like an actual full character traveling with them, but we'll just make a head that like explains everything because Kratos is out of his element in terms of like knowing Norse anything. So I mean whatever, I get it. I just think it's annoying when like you look at other games where like if you have like an annoying NPC character like oh blah blah blah, it's just so annoying, talk blah blah blah, like people said that with like Portal, like how like oh Gladys is a character, and it's like she doesn't
There's a
show up.
love-hate thing there.
Right.
People
So I
love
can
Gladys,
understand.
some people hate her.
No, I understand, but
yeah,
I never
just
felt
it's so
annoyed by
goofy
them
in my
either.
opinion. So goofy for God of War, but that's my opinion.
yeah.
I
thought it
never
worked
felt
because-
annoyed by him. I kind
Yeah,
of
I
liked
thought it
having
worked.
him there the whole time.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
The
actually
only
like
thing that kind of annoyed me, which was it didn't really annoy me, was when he would get annoyed when I would land on the beach and he would have to stop telling a story, and he'd be like, "I guess we'll talk about this later." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm doing something."
Yeah, I did like points in that game when your son's like, "Oh look, that's a ghost up there. It looks like it needs our help," and Kratos is like, "Nope, let's keep going. Forget them." And I'm like, "Yep, that's the way I'm playing this game."
Yeah, and like oh god, I don't know. I mean, maybe I just picked the wrong side quest, but I did this one where it's like, I was like, all right, well, whatever. I'll get this kid to shut the fuck up. So I talked to this ghost, and this ghost is like, my wife's corpse is like
Yeah,
scattered about the lake here.
Oh, I did that
And I
one.
was
That's the
like-
one I did.
I was like,
No, I
all
did that
right.
too.
I was like, I'll do this, and it's not like it took long.
It wasn't
or
that
anything.
hard.
It wasn't hard, but I was just like, okay, here it is. It's like, ha ha ha! I tricked you, and it's like fight this vengeful spirit. I'm just like, okay, so I did that, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm done with this. Like,
The thing
it's
is,
just-
I mean, it was funny. Well, you do get like a decent enhancement, I think. You get decent rewards for most of the side stuff if you want to try to level yourself up a bit and get ahead of the curve a bit. By the end of
I
the
wanna talk
story
about
mode,
that later, but yeah.
and by the end of the story mode, I think I was a bit ahead of the curve for the story missions, not the Valkyries yet. In fact, I think I still need work for a lot of the Valkyries. If-
for me, I feel like I did one of the side missions when I got to the main lake area, and I went on to this side thing, and I actually faced a creature that ended up being a massive creature for like facing throughout the game. Not that big troll guy, but the one that the other being that like
Ancient.
throw fire. Yeah, the ancients. So I fought my
The
first
ancients,
ancient.
I hated the ancients.
But I fought
Those
my
were
first one then, and I'm like, I got used to it immediately, and I'm like, well, this apparently prepped me for the entire game because they were easy after that fight. Because that was actually a tough fight, and I was like, because I was learning, and then so I did that side. That was the only side quest I did, and yeah, the rest of the game was easier because of that, because I learned the pattern for that the entire time, and it was easy.
I mean, my first encounter with the ancient was god awful too, and
Mhm.
I mean, and then once you learn to just like,
Yeah.
throw their balls at them,
Yeah.
for lack of a better
Get
term,
their chest open, yeah.
then they just become formula. Like they were probably my least favorite enemy in the game.
Yeah, they
anything
weren't
that like
very-
doesn't get hurt by
Um,
normal attacks and then just have to do something real specific. It's just like this is just a boring pattern.
Like,
There were a few like that though.
I feel like the enemies weren't very varied in this game, but they were very hard in the beginning. I have to say, until I hit that part where I got the old-fashioned weapons, the old what do they call those
the
things?
blades of
The blades?
Chaos
chaos.
Blades.
When I got
Yeah.
those, this game just became cakewalk. for
Oh
me.
yeah. I was just like, I'm never using the fucking axe again.
Nope.
Like, that's
I
it. I'm just
only used
using-
it when they forced me to. On
Yeah,
certain
No,
areas,
I
yeah.
think some
I like switching between
some
them.
enemies actually were more vulnerable to the frost damage. So
Well, right, because
Yes.
they forced it, because it's like, like you're made of fire, so the fire whips aren't going to do damage.
I still
so it's
killed
the
them with
ice
it.
axe.
I
was
still
like,
killed
okay,
them with the
whatever.
fire ones.
Well,
But,
it was, and it was also harder for me to find things to fully upgrade those. Like my axe had been fully upgraded for a while, and I'm still not fully upgraded for the
Yeah.
Blades of Chaos. But I mean, difficulty had some weird spikes. There's this whole RPG element to it, but I think that's supposed to encourage you to explore a little more and get all
Right.
these like
Like,
enhancements and
that
stuff.
was my biggest criticism of like just the gameplay. I hated that. I hated
Really,
it so
you
much.
didn't
where
like
it's
the tree?
I didn't.
No, well, it's dumb because it's like it's just about what your level is. Like, it's not about catering to what I want to do in terms of playstyle. Because it's like, oh well, I want the things that do increased damage, so I'm gonna get that armor and I'm gonna upgrade that. And it's like, but if I put this like rare or legendary, whatever, like defensive armor, like technically it raises my level higher, so I'm dealing it like because of that, I'm now dealing more damage to equal or lesser level enemies than I previous was, even though this is entirely like a defensive like quality
Right.
thing. So I was just like, I hate that. It's just like,
Mhm.
why are you letting me like have this illusion of freedom where it's like, it's really just what your level is, and I hate that. I hate that so much.
Well, there's certain levels to it though too. It's like once you get like decently high level armor in general, you switch on and off for different types of enemies if you want to do that.
I didn't do that.
Or
Yeah,
different
I mean,
enhancements.
That's part
I
of
didn't-
it, like,
I didn't
your
do that
end
at
game,
all.
So it's like,
I mean, I'm gonna probably do that. The things that I didn't like aside from that, I kind of like the RPG thing, but I agree that the level thing is a little wonky. But some of the enhancements really do like make a big difference.
I just increased the kid like crazy, and that was like my best.
The kid, yeah, I learned.
So broken.
Yeah.
I learned after a while that like early on I didn't care about him, and I'm like, what is he gonna do? And then later on I'm like, oh wait, I need to just max him out.
His
And he was
stuns,
maxed out for a while.
He would stun and
he
hold
uses
them.
his
like,
electric arrows. It's just like
just
constantly pressing that.
I just got the one spell for him or whatever where it's like he summons like I don't know, I think they're electric bats or whatever like that. And it's like circles around.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is amazing. I'm not using anything else for the rest of the game. And I kept getting
used the wolves the whole time.
I like
Really?
the wolves. I did like the wolves.
Yeah.
Everything else they're like, oh, well, Atreus has this spell. I'm like, nah, not better than electric bats because they just like stun everything in the area. I'm just like, whatever, I don't care.
The wolves did. I upgraded their damage. I mean, they did so much damage for me.
Really
Yeah.
He's just he's really useful against
Definitely one of the better like NPC characters in a battle. He actually was not necessarily. He didn't feel like an NPC character. He felt like a tool in your arsenal.
He was an extension of Kratos.
Yeah. I think it was interesting though for me, like the way this game curved, because like I was frustrated at some points in the beginning of getting killed quite often.
I died to that first troll like twice before I killed him.
I didn't die to the troll. I died to the guys coming out of the rock ledge. Early on, there was like the guys jumping out off the top down to me, and I was dying there by normal mobs. And like, why am I dying here?
I always had trouble early on against the what are they called? Reavers, the witch-like things.
The witch things were
just
never really. They were nuisances.
Annoying.
Yeah, they were just nuisances.
I was never good at that because you had to only do like stun moves really to hit them.
Well, you're supposed to use Atreus against him.
Yeah, I mean, I early on again, Atreus was underpowered for me, but
right,
later
that's what I'm
on,
saying, like where it's like.
He's so necessary for them.
Yeah, I had him level up right away. I mean, that's what I spent my time on. So I was weaker in the beginning of the game, but it was totally. I only think I died in the beginning part. I don't think I died later in the game, except for when I went to the wrong area in the lake where it was like overpowered enemies, and I was like, oh, I should not be here.
As long as you play it right, you should be okay. But the witches, if you're not using Atreus, then they fuck you over.
So,
but yeah, what is funny about the free roaming things, you're not sure when you're allowed to. It's kind of weird that way.
Yeah, there wasn't much direction.
And then when you do, you can sort of wander somewhere that like you don't deserve to be, you don't belong, and you just get wrecked by something like way above you.
Yeah,
if it's in the early game.
One hit kills. Yep, one hit kills.
Yeah, one hit kills if they're higher enough than you, which is like, oh.
Like, I hated that. There was once you get the pick or whatever, and you can open up the black gates or whatever like that.
Yeah,
I just turned that off. Did you know you can turn that off? By the way, did you guys do that? Because I turned it off.
What
off?
Where you had opening the.
Really?
Yeah, you can,
no,
I
I
turned
didn't
it
know
off.
that.
Yep, I turned it off.
I wish I did because it was just dumb.
I couldn't stand it, and I found out
after the first time, it was like, all right, I don't need to do this each time. But
but anyway, I just remember being in the lake, and I was like, oh well, let me open it up, see what happens. Some super enemy like pops out. I'm like, all right, well, it's like purple or whatever the fuck, red or whatever, some skull symbol, whatever, meaning like, hey, you sure probably shouldn't fight this. Well, I'm like, well, let me see what I can do, and like. Just through like attrition, I was doing well, but it's just like you get hit once, it's like you're dead.
Yeah,
it was like,
one hit kill. I think I was stubborn in that situation myself. I opened a tear. It was like 3 levels higher than me, with like pretty much one hit kill, and I think I like did it like 8 times in a row before I beat him. I'm like, I know I could just walk away, but I'm like, I got to do this now. I started it.
Yeah.
But all that being said, I really like the game. I like the story.
Oh, yeah. That's what I want to talk about next is like the boss fights. What do you guys think of what it's? I mean, God of War is known for that, right? I mean, that's what the series is known for, the massive scale fights. Did they cover that in this game? Do you think it got that far?
Yes and no. The dragon was cool in my opinion, and the boulder fights were good. But
I didn't like the first boulder fight, but the last one I loved. The last one
I liked the first boulder fight. I thought that was great. That got me excited because again, like I'm not that familiar with God of War, so I just kind of thought Kratos was like, you know, sometimes like powerful or like just looked as strong as he was, or so I'm like, oh wait, these are like superheroes.
Yeah.
Like that was like what that conveyed to me, and I thought that was a great fight, even though nearby the end of it I was just like, when is this gonna end?
Yeah, that's for me. I was like, this went on way too long.
The first one dragged on too long.
But
I knew it was like he's not gonna kill him, like obviously he's the big bad, whatever. It's like, all right.
Yeah.
But like I thought that got me excited about the game and like set the stage for me a bit. I really liked that early fight.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned it. Like, initially I was like, I like that fight because this is like I want more of this type of thing. I want to feel super powerful and strong and like these big.
I think the
Like
dragon
battle type things.
I think the dragon fight was the epitome of that. I felt like that's where I felt like the most like God.
See, I don't. I mean, like I like
I
that,
felt
I
that way.
guess.
I like that a lot.
But I don't. I like the idea of like facing like someone more your size who like has like similar powers
What
than
about
like
the,
a giant thing that.
I think the dragon was a
specific
cool
points and
set
stuff.
piece. I just didn't think the mechanics were that fun.
No.
Like I'm never a big fan of the giant like boss fights where
so I
there's
guess
something
I'm-
specific to like do.
I think I'm combining both the encounters with the dragon because like he chases you up the elevator, right?
Yeah.
For the first time, and then
Yeah.
you get away, but then you fight him later, right?
Yeah, in a pit.
Okay.
At the same time, I think.
It's the same.
Like,
It's the same
right
map.
after.
It's like
Same
pretty
time?
close. Yeah, it's the same fight. It just
Okay.
continues.
All right.
So I like that whole sequence, but
No,
Yeah,
it's definitely. I mean, that's the thing that they're known for. Like,
yeah, the
big
final
set
Baldur
pieces,
fight was
absolutely.
was a great fight as well. But like Thor's
Is it-
sons were good too. I like the Thor son fight. That
They
was good.
were all right too.
Yeah.
I hated
Final
them.
Boulder
Oh, I liked
fight,
it.
like what was funny
Oh, I
to
did
me
die
about
there. I did die there. Sorry.
the Boulder fight is I never died in that.
I
Like,
didn't die in the Baldur fight either. I died on the sons of Thor a couple times. I did die.
I'm
there.
not sure.
Oh,
if I-
really?
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. One was really cheap too. I was furious. I was like, I'm not gonna play this right now. And then I
Well, some
ended
of
up playing it.
here's the thing. They do the Travelers and the Valkyries. If you ever even tried to fight a Valkyrie yet,
No.
they all have their moves where like you see the red and that's like telegraphed that like that's unblockable. But then like sometimes they just lead with that like out of nowhere. And it feels really cheap when you're used to them telegraphing it,
Yeah.
and they'll do that, and it's like, I really don't like the Travelers because like I feel like you can't like time the dodges for their unblockable moves too well. But you know, there's actually a fair amount of different enemies in the game, but I don't think the combat is as perfect as a lot of people say it is.
I really
It's
like the combat.
very good. It's
Yeah.
very good, and I liked it a lot, and I like upgrading my stuff. But between like some of the sort of cheaper moves some enemies have, the formulaic like you can only hurt a boss in this time, this place, and the targeting system was awful. If you ever turned it on, I normally didn't turn it on. The like button to like target something in
Oh
particular.
no, I never used that. Yeah, I didn't really.
I hated that because
Yeah.
more often than not, you have more than one enemy to fight. Even
but
if there's
I think-
a boss, there's little ones. And more often than not, you're looking. You want to be able to look on the ground to pick up health stones,
Yeah.
not just look at this person.
But
so
I think he auto does that with a control scheme. Doesn't he?
he
auto-lock?
he does to an extent, but
Yeah,
you can like
That's what I just
force him to look
used.
at
Oh, no,
one.
I never
thing.
did that. I never did that.
No, it was never a good
I only did
idea.
it for boss
Corey,
fights, I
you
think, because it's
Corey, you're muted.
I heard you.
There you go. Okay. I saw you moving the lips, and I couldn't hear him. So, but yeah, I don't know. I like the game quite a bit. Like I said, I would give it a 9 out of 10. And for me, it was the combat and the encounters. That was funny because when I first talked about this game back in the podcast, I think I said that I didn't like the Baldur encounter right away. I think I hated that. But the other encounters in the game for me,
I really liked that one.
I just thought, like Tony said, I think it went on too long.
it
went on
was
too
a
long.
little long, maybe.
I mean,
but
the fight, like, if we were just talking about, like, if this was a movie, like, yeah, that'd be pretty cool to, like, to set the tone, like, hey, we're going to kick it up a notch now. But, like, the encounter itself, it's like, all right, you fight a bit. He goes, oh, you're never going to beat me. I'm like, all right, cool. You get, like, one extra move. It's like, all right, we fight some more. And it's like, Kratos goes, like, you know, God of War mode. I'm like, okay, cool. Is that it? It's like, nope, still going. I'm
Keep
like,
going. Yep.
okay. Like,
Yep.
I guess phase 4 for an intro fight? Like, whatever. Just, I don't know.
Yeah. But
I
I don't
felt
know.
like,
So what do we think of the?
what do you guys think of the puzzles?
oh, God.
Hmm.
So terrible. In my opinion, I didn't think they were good. I thought they were just like very mediocre. But I'm used to Zelda, so it's like I never felt challenged by any of them.
I don't think they were supposed to be
They weren't
challenging.
challenging.
No,
No.
they didn't seem like they were supposed to be challenging. Like,
I
that's
mean, I think the
they were
hardest
changing
things were
pace.
the occasional like, what are those things? The 3 like symbol ones to open a chest.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like obviously all those are optional, but like those were I think the closest to challenging. I thought they were
I just
okay.
didn't
They
wanna waste
weren't
my-
challenging. They were
I just
just
didn't
like
want to
you
waste
had
my
to
time.
find the thing.
Yeah, I didn't want to
It's
waste
like
my time.
time
with it.
wasters.
So
I got
spent,
every single one of those.
I spent
Whenever
a
I
lot of
saw a chest
time-
that had the 3 symbols on it, I was like, I have to
Nah,
open it.
I spent
Yeah,
a lot
I
of
think
time.
I've done every one of them that I ran into.
The middle area somewhere, I spent so much time on the one trying to get the timing down for like where they were, and I'm like, you know what, the hell with this.
bells
I'm not
ringing
gonna
with-
I'm not gonna waste my time with. Yes,
No,
I'm not gonna waste my time.
I
with
didn't mind them. They actually remind me a bit of the Riddler stuff in Arkham.
it. No.
But I know no one else really bothered with that.
So, Yeah, so
I mean, there is a fair amount of extra content, but I do appreciate them making it a very linear game if you want it to be that.
Yeah.
I felt like
I
complete.
mean,
I felt complete with the way I played, and the ending, like you said, Mike, is a little abrupt, but I felt pretty complete with it still.
I was shocked, honestly, when they got to was it Jotunheim or whatever you call it, wherever the Giants
Land
were.
of the Giants, yeah.
I can't believe there was nothing there other than what we wanted to do. Like there was no like I thought maybe there'd be something else. I know we had that big boss fight before it, but there was nothing there other than just
walk
a little bit of some murals to look at.
When the Kratos is going to pass away at some point.
That's one of my minor criticisms, where it's like you talk about like what is it, the 9 realms or whatever like that, and it's like, okay, this could be cool, and you go to like 3 of them, like one of them is like.
Okay, that's probably the biggest thing that keeps me from like making this like 9.5 or higher is the other realms all suck.
Yeah.
Like you think at first that like you see like, Midgard, you're like, oh my god, there's like 5 more of these you can unlock, and it's not. They're all like one. I mean, some are more extensive than others, but 2 of them are like full on annoying. Like I don't want to deal with them. Like
one of them was just basically a bridge. That's all this.
Yeah. One was basically a bridge, but you don't even need to go to this one. The one with the gas. Did you guys go to the one with the poison gas? Evaldi's like chamber thing. That is super annoying.
I didn't go to
the whole thing. You don't need to do it at all. It's this whole realm, and it's super annoying. I mean, obviously there's like some good armor that if you suffer through the trials and tribulations of it, but it's literally like a constantly like transforming area that has poison gas, so you have a time limit for how long you're in there, and new like things spawn like when you walk through certain spots, and then you need to get a resource that you can only get in that realm to unlock more parts of that area, all while there's poison there. It's really annoying.
Yeah,
and it's completely optional, so it's just like it felt like a waste of a realm, really.
That was kind of like the thing for me is like Corey, you were just saying, like, if you wanted to be a linear experience, it could be a linear experience, but if you wanted more, you could do more. But like I felt like as soon as I realized like to get like the higher armor or whatever like that, when you selected at the Dwarves Brothers, it's like, oh, you need to collect 100 bullshit that I have 0 of, even though I know I'm like halfway, 3/4 of the way through the game. I'm like, I gotta grind for this. I'm just like,
yeah, I didn't do it.
I don't need it.
I was fine. Everything I went was offensive, and I just killed shit. That's what I did.
The only reason, again, why, and I think that's probably why they put them in the game, the only reason why you would want to like get the best stuff is if you want to kill all the Valkyries.
All the Valkyries, right. And this is
I've done 3 of them so far, and they're pretty cheap.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. Is like I don't know. I watched the video because I was like, is this worthwhile? And I looked at it, I was like, it just seems annoying and not really like a genuine challenge, or just like bash your head against this wall until like you get like a person. Like,
yeah.
So
I'm not grinding for this.
Do we want to talk about who Atreus really is?
Oh, Loki, as I mentioned earlier, right?
I thought Baldur was.
I mean, they were leading up to like
this
kid's got something
going
on
his
here.
His parents were supposed to be, but I thought Baldur was Loki at first. When he first appeared.
Yeah, well, I mean, it'll be interesting because I believe, according to most interpretations of Norse mythology, Loki does have a hand in causing Ragnarok. So,
and his mother is that's actually his mother who
passed away.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I think that that was an interesting twist for it, actually, for a story that I wasn't into. I was like, oh, he's Loki, okay, but I don't know. I think the drive for me more is the sequel about how is Kratos going to die, because you saw that in the wall.
Yeah,
is that what was happening? There was just like stuff floating out of his eyes and stuff for mouth. I couldn't quite understand.
Maybe it's not that.
I couldn't quite understand what that was. I mean, he said something like "yes, the end," so you would think that's him dying, but I don't know what that was supposed to represent, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the implications of him being Loki is going to set an interesting tone for the next game. So I'm curious to see how that gets played out, because now the audience knows who he really is and his history, and like you said, it's going to cause Ragnarok, and they have plans for
a little different than what it
could be.
Is.
I mean,
then they have the Eye of Ra on there as well, so it's like, are we going to go Egyptian next? It's like,
that's the thing that's a little annoying to me, because like I mean, I'm Greek, so I know a fair bit of Greek mythology, and I said before I was playing the game, I was like, man, I wish they would just like started from zero, like rebooted God of War with this new Kratos, and like just did all this.
20 years of history.
No, I mean, I'm glad. Listen, I'm glad they didn't do that. I don't know why you would do that, because this to me was more interesting, because I knew he had.
I just had to throw that out.
I knew he had this history, even though I never followed it personally. I knew he had this history, and what do you know? An old character. I like him more because he has history, and I never knew him before. Yeah. It's strange how that happens. I liked how he had history, and I honestly I was a little bit. I was a little bit experiencing the game from. Although I kind of knew that, like, yeah, he was pretty much a Hercules stand-in, and like he pretty much murdered all of the gods somewhat.
I knew that. I don't know the story besides that.
And I don't know anything about the story other than that. And I think like his original family was killed, and that's why he did this whole thing. I think he was forced. That's what Hercules did too. That's why like he's a stand-in for Hercules. Anyway, so I kind of knew all that, but I didn't know. I wanted to like hear it from him, or sort of like I was sort of experiencing it from Atreus.
No, I hear you, Mike. 'Cause I do appreciate them. Reflecting on that a little bit and acknowledging it in the game that it's there, and the reason he is who he is now is because of the history he has. So I understand where you're coming from there, but it is a reboot still, and it's rebooting the character because he's nothing like
the gameplay.
Yeah, of course, and the character is nothing like the character in the other games.
Did he start like the character in the other games though? Like in the beginning where he just seemed like an asshole?
No, his character is way different in this game than it is in the other games. But I mean, that's part of his growth.
Literally a different character. It's jarring. Like, okay, but anyway, like I was saying, like I would have really liked them to have revisited like the Greek mythology, because like in my opinion, I think they did a great disservice with anything past God of War 2, and just like, oh yeah, Kratos, you're killing this god now for no apparent reason. Just you need to kill him. It's like, oh, okay, cool. We're just closing.
Gotta kill them all, man.
Yeah, gotta kill them all. So it's like, oh, now he travels to Norway, and like, all right, cool. So we're just gonna. So Kratos is responsible for Ragnarok because her fathering is like.
What would you think if they did like the Roman versions of the Greek gods? Like, what would you like? Because it's the same god, like Jupiter and.
They're all the same, so it's it's just different names, Right. So it's like.
But I think the idea of going to Egyptian as well, I think, is another aspect they can. He's just going to murder all the gods. That's what he does.
It's like, all right, man, whatever. Like, sure.
Yeah.
And then we'll go to East Asia, I'm sure, next.
Yeah.
And,
East Asia.
Maybe West then, and kill some Indian gods.
Kratos is going to kill. He's going to kill
Aztec. Yeah.
He's going to kill Jesus.
Yep. He'll go over all of them. He was responsible for all of the Buddha, all these guys.
No,
I mean, I really like the game, but the thing is, I actually really liked Atreus at the beginning. I actually think he had a decent sense of humor, just like the way he bounced off of Kratos, just like assholishness. But like halfway through the game, when he does find out, like, oh, I'm a god, and like Kratos says, like, he goes, we must be better than the previous gods. I was like, wow, like, okay, cool, I can get behind this. Like, this is a aspect of Kratos that is fulfilling like what I would want to see out of that. And then like literally the next sequence, it's like you go to the dwarves, he's like, I don't have time to listen to your problems. We're gods. I'm just like, did you just not hear what we said to you? Like, you little shit. Like, be better. And it's just like,
that was a whole funny. It was just a whole funny section to me where like he was just like a total asshole. I'm like, I can't wait. Like, and I feel like this
son of a bitch.
Yeah,
it's kind of like I think Kratos was even just like waiting for like him to like eat it somehow. He's like, all right, this'll pass.
Yeah, it's like you're biting off more than you could chew, kid. It's like climax with him like even like shooting Kratos with his bow. I'm just like, kid, like,
boy.
Come on, boy. Like, I was like, oh my god. And they go to that one realm, and he's like, this is your fault. And it's like, okay, we're back to the norm. And I'm just like, okay, it was a little cliche. But I really like Freya. And actually, I was disappointed in the ending of the game. That was the big thing I wanted to talk about.
Well, the ending fight or the ending whole like sequence?
Just how things ended, because like obviously you have to have a big fight. But like
I kind of thought there'd be more after that.
Right. It just, for me, it seems so nonsensical in terms of like why we're still fighting. So it's like, okay, the whole thing was like Balder was so upset because he couldn't feel anything. Bro, I get it. That sounds really shitty to not feel any emotions or any feelings. But like, you're a god. You're gonna live for a while, and it's like, okay, we incidentally cured you of this thing, even though like
I wasn't trying to, but
yes.
Yes.
Oh god, it was so. Yeah. It's like, oh, I stabbed myself with this arrowhead. Like, wow. Okay, but anyway,
gods always have stupid like weaknesses, though.
Right. It's like it's like Achilles' heel.
Achilles, yeah.
But it's like, all right, well, I can feel now. Like, this is amazing. I'm like, okay, cool. Then we could just
then we're good.
Stop fighting. We're good. He's like, well, I'll never get those 100 years back. I'm like, you're God. Like, you're probably living like thousands of years. Like, what's 100 years to you?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I agree.
Really?
With that.
Like,
Well, I mean, I guess that's why like you had to do what you had to do in the end, because he's just like an irredeemable asshole.
Yeah.
But not, well, that's the thing that bothers me.
He
is
has his
like,
reasons, but he's still like he's beyond like mentally saving.
Yeah.
But not, and here, let me finish, because this is what's upsetting, because Kratos literally went through that same thing in his earlier games, where it's like he, killed his family, he was tricked by Ares, and like he flipped his shit, and fast forward, he was the downfall of like all the Greek gods. It's like he could take that experience and be like, hey man, like I've been through this, I understand what you're feeling right now, but like the whole like it's not going to bring him back, it's not going to make you like feel any better, it's just going to bring more pain, suffering, this and that thing. It's like, instead of all that, it's like, no, you know what? Let's have a fight. Let's continue fighting. And just like,
yeah.
Well,
okay,
I mean,
like,
how many years removed is this Kratos from that Kratos? Do we even know? I mean, he seems much older now, right? So Kratos sees in himself, he knows he's not going to stop like for what, like 50 years?
Yeah. I mean, we don't know how long, but
I mean, it's just weird too, because Freya's like yelling, "No, stop fighting!" like the whole time.
yeah.
and that to me was like the biggest thing, because I another moment that I thought was like really actually genuine for Kratos changing was when she saved him, and he goes, I'll remember this. And I'm like, okay, wow, like maybe this is him changing and evolving into being a better person. And then like she's begging him, pleading him, like, just please both of you stop, like chill out, because again, it's like you're fighting over nothing. You're fighting over a conflict that ended. Like there's no reason to continue this anymore. Just like two dudes, just like, let's just keep going. I'm just like, okay, like obviously somebody's gotta die here. Either it's gonna be Balder or it's gonna be the kid. And then because if the kid dies, then Kratos is gonna flip shit and kill Balder anyway. So it's like, all right, how's this gonna resolve? And it's just like, because she can't do anything because of the curse of Odin. It's like, all right, so that happens, and then finally there was a breathing room where it's like, all right, maybe he could chill out. Because he had defeated Balder, and he's like, you need to stop, leave us alone. It's like, okay, cool. He grew. He's like growing. He's showing like mercy or compassion, whatever you want to say. And it's like, okay. And then Balder's like, no, I'm still upset. I'm gonna kill my mom. And she's like, hey, if that's what's gonna make you feel better, go ahead, do it. And he goes to do it. I'm like, all right, well, let's see how this plays out. And Kratos just goes up and goes, we have to end this cycle. I'm like, what does that mean? It just snaps his neck. I'm like,
yeah, back to normal. Status quo of killing gods.
Status quo, like, just like, no, you know what? Do it.
I don't have to disagree with his decision there.
Yeah, but then ending, like, obviously making an enemy of somebody else, and that's kind of continuing the cycle.
Yep.
I know, but like,
it's being a hypocrite.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It is continuing the cycle. He didn't end anything there. He just continued it.
Yeah, maybe
really
he's all self-saving Freya, though.
Yeah,
sure.
that's why. That's the whole reason why he was fighting in the first place. This is someone who he owed.
He's creating another cycle of revenge.
Maybe, if she does that.
Yes.
Maybe? She was like, I will tear you apart and
I know.
scatter you
Well,
about
first
the world.
Number one, she can't do anything. Number two, Mimir even says, just give her time. We'll see.
Yeah.
Oh, just like maybe he should just give Balder time. But like,
well,
hey,
couldn't give him time.
He couldn't give him time. He was murdering someone who pretty much Kratos said he had her back from now on.
Yeah. But she
he's
pretty
not
much
gonna
said
just,
that he
he's
should
not
allow
going
this.
to watch her get strangled, even if she's like, oh, yeah, do it. He's not going to do that. Not to this guy who's, like, out of his mind, clearly, who's just a murderous psychopath.
I don't know. Yeah.
Anyways, I think he just made a mess out of things, and
I think
she's just going to
played out that way. But
yeah.
Well, right. I mean, that's the thing.
Sequel.
Yeah, we got a sequel now. So overall, I think we all like this game. 9 for me. What do you think, Mike?
Between 9, 9.5. We'll see if like the other stuff holds my attention.
All right. Tony?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the 9 area too, just as far as I'd probably be a little higher, but I'm not going as high as 9.5. But
yeah, that's why I was. I liked it, but it would be a 9, not 9 and 5. Tony?
Yeah, I'd give it like 9.
Yeah,
I think 9's pretty comfortable. I mean,
yeah.
I did like for as much as I think the graphics were beautiful, the world building was amazing, voice acting top notch.
HDR was amazing with this, by the way. Oh, it was amazing.
Combat was fluid. It was awesome.
Ran on PS4
about the world, all that stuff. It's just like, for me personally, like a couple of things where it's just like, yeah, okay, well, didn't hit the mark for me, but that's just personal preference. But I absolutely, what I will say, like anybody who owns a PlayStation 4, like you kind of owe yourself to play this game.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, definitely.
Absolutely.
And I definitely liked it more than I expected as someone who was not a fan of the series.
Yeah, same here.
Good, and I think that's most people, which is good.
So, all right.
Well, and I think it's why it was so popular and sold like millions of copies this year.
Well, I think that's going to wrap up this bonus round. Thanks for tuning in. Write us podcast at allycangeek.net. Follow us on Twitter, allycangeek. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Tune into the bonus rounds coming up. We got a Ant-Man vs. Wasp next week, so look for that. Thanks for tuning in. See ya.